Thank you for joining me for this training video. I am Rick Thomas. You can find me at rickthomas.net, where we are helping people live effective lives. In this training video, I want to talk about how to develop leaders in your local church. Paul said in Ephesians 4 to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. One of the primary jobs of the leaders within a local church is to strategically identify and isolate individuals in that church to train them for leadership responsibilities. The way that you do that is the leadership team or the leader, if it is a solo pastor within that local church, equips by modeling and training. I put modeling before training because we want to be transformed by the information that we are exporting to those potential leaders. We want to model the gospel as we are training others to live out the gospel. We don't want our training to be without personal transformation. And so leaders equip by modeling the very thing that they want others to be. And then they train them in how to do that. They want to identify potential leaders, whether it is a man or a woman potential leader, and they want to equip them to model the gospel, the transformative gospel, and to train others to do the same thing. A great way to do that is to provide context in which they can exercise their gifting. The number one context to exercise your gifting is if the leader is married, whether it's a man or a woman, a husband and a wife, what effect has that husband had on his wife? What effect has the wife had on her husband? If they have children, how have they affected their children? You have a great context to assess. If we are not leading within our homes, then we are not qualified to lead within our local churches. You can also assess the potential leader by the effect that they have had on their next sphere of influence, which would be their close friends. Also, hospitality is a great context to be able to build relationally with one another. Certainly, a leader is hospitable. One-to-one discipleship is where the man or the woman takes another individual aside and begins to equip them. Leaders make disciples. If you can't make disciples, you can't be a leader because you have no one who is following because you have not developed them. And so you want to assess their one-to-one disciple-making ability. Other things, other context that you can provide for them is serving on the ushering team, possibly working within the nursery. These two things, serving on the ushering team and working in the nursery, are not glamorous per se positions, but what you want to do is to assess their humility and their willingness to fulfill whatever obligations are necessary in order for the church to function. Some leaders just want to be in the spotlight. If a leader is not willing to humble himself or herself and wash feet, then you definitely don't want them to be on stage teaching others. And then, of course, there's Sunday school, which is a teaching position or possibly a Bible study. Potentially, they could lead a small group and other teaching opportunities. What you see here on the list are contexts in which the leadership of the church can assess these potential leaders, a man or a woman, to see how well they are at leading others, at exporting the gospel to folks that they are discipling. The key aspects for equipping are, first, you have to identify the goal for the potential leader. Well, that is easy. The goal for all leadership development is Christ-likeness. The pastor and the pastoral team should be looking like Jesus Christ. They should be developing that into their local church. So if you want to identify and isolate a potential leader and establish a goal that you want to drive toward, you want to develop that leader into Christ-likeness. The leadership models the goal for the potential leader, and then you begin equipping the potential leader to become an equipping leader. And finally, you provide context for the potential leader's development. Now I want to talk about the circularity of an equipping ministry. Christ trained his disciples to go out and train other disciples to be like Christ. Do you see the circularity there? You go out, You identify and isolate a leader. You train them to go out and to develop other people to be like Christ. Therefore, the church leadership trains leaders so they can go out and identify and train potential leaders to be like Christ. That is the circularity. Now what I want to do is to give you a visual of what I just said. The goal is Christ, everybody in the church. He is the central figure in the church. He is the one that we're all drawing toward. He is the one that we want to emulate. And so Christ is the goal. The leader or the leadership team in the church, I'm going to call this leader Paul. Let's say that he's the pastor of the church. He is following Christ. He's modeling Christ-likeness, and now he wants to identify a potential leader in his local church, and we're going to call him Timothy, Tim for short. And so he's going to take Timothy or Tim under his wing, a potential leader, and he wants to equip him, 1, by modeling, and then 2, by training him. Now, granted, Timothy is already following Christ because he is a Christian. But what Paul wants to do is to train him up into his leadership gifting. He wants to take him up the ladder to a leadership level because Paul has seen, even in an embryonic form, a leadership ability within Tim. And so as Tim is following Christ, Paul wants to teach him how to follow Christ as a leader. And so this is the circularity. And of course, the goal is for Tim to go out and to be able to equip others to follow Christ. All right, so let's move this model over. Paul is following Christ. He's equipping Timothy to follow Christ as a leader. And now Timothy wants to go out. He's no longer a potential leader, but he has been equipped to be a leader within this local church. Now he identifies someone in the local church, and we'll call him Titus. He is a potential leader. And Timothy begins to equip Titus in leadership so that he can go out and do the same thing. And so Christ is training Paul, Paul's training Timothy, Timothy's training Titus, all to be like Christ, and that is the circularity of an equipping ministry. The name of this video is Developing Leaders in Your Local Church to Equip the Saints for the Work of the Ministry from Ephesians 4. If you would like to chat with me about any of this, please go to our website, rickthomas.net. We're helping people live effective lives, and you can jump on our forums and talk to us, and it would be a pleasure to serve you. Thank you so much for watching the video.